Homegrown Radio.
Prison love. And for many people, the idea of dating someone who is incarcerated seems so far-fetched, And some people reach out to prisoners just to offer support and compassion and have no intention of actually falling in love with them. But things happen. And today we have a very special lady. Her name is Tshidi Monkoe, and she is the author of Prison Love, and she is going to share her story about surviving emotional and physical abuse initially at the hands of her ex-husband and then falling in love with a prisoner. Welcome, Tshidi, to Homegrown Radio.
Thank you for having me, Ntando.
Sure, you have quite a story to tell, okay, but before we get into Prison Love, which is your book.
Yes.
Obviously, your story starts somewhere. So just can you tell us about your childhood and how you grew up?
I was raised by two loving parents, both Mr. and Mrs. Pule and Tshidi Monkoe. I only have one little brother, so it was the two of us. Both my parents were working, so we grew up very well. I was well brought up, and they treated us with lots of love and respect, and affection became my language of love because I was given a lot of affection. I was the only child for about 12 years. Yeah. And a few years later, I met a man whom I eventually married, the father of my first child. My ex-husband, yeah.
I mean, so you sound like you had an amazing childhood. And of course, a lot happens in this book with regards to the relationships that you had in your life. But, the people that you looked up to, your parents, had a very happy, loving relationship.
Yes.
And that had no impact on any decisions that you made throughout your life.
No, not at all.
And then, of course, you meet your ex-husband, you get married, and then you suffer physical and emotional abuse from him.
And financial.
And financial abuse, physical, emotional, and financial abuse. So can you tell us about that?
Look, initially it was financial abuse, right? Because he was not strong financially, which led to the emotional abuse. Because when I was building him, I was actually bruising his ego. I was not aware that I was doing that because, when you meet a man and you find that he's not as strong as you are financially, you want to protect him from your family and friends because you don't want them to see his flaws, right? I mean, you go to a mall with him, you give him his card and you buy him clothes and all those type of things.
Yes.
I mean, to me, I was, taking care of my home, my family, him being my husband, but I was not aware that I had awarded myself with the tender of building a man when the only person I was supposed to be building was myself. So now ultimately it led to emotional abuse because he felt that he was not good enough. I mean, understandably so. But at the time I didn't see things that way. I felt that he was just being ungrateful and everything. Because I felt that he was dragging me back. Because I felt that I was taking, when I was trying to take 2 steps forward, I felt that I was actually taking 10 steps back. So the emotional abuse led to the physical abuse, and I left him on the night. He almost killed me in the presence of our daughter.
I just want to go back to the financial abuse because in your book you talk about how you tried to help this person starting businesses, buying a taxi, and it just didn't work out. You ended up being the breadwinner in your household in any case. And how did you justify that supporting your ex-husband? Was it just because you loved him that much, or were you scared of what might happen if you said no?
No, remember, he was not asking me. He never asked me to do any of the things that I did for him. But it was just me being there for him because he had dreams. So I put my dreams aside to support his dreams. But now he was not doing anything. He was not acting on chasing the dreams. He was all talk. But then now I was continuously pushing him towards that direction, a direction he was not pushing himself towards, which delayed my progress. Hence, I say it's for me. I define that as financial abuse because he didn't appreciate. He didn't appreciate the support. He didn't appreciate my efforts.
And then, what happened the day that you finally left?
That was the night when he abused me physically.
Was it the first time?
It was the second time.
Okay.
It was the second time. The first time was while we were dating. Actually, I think it was 2 years into our relationship. But he promised he would never do it again. I forgave him. And then a few years later, I married this man. Yeah. And he unleashed his true colors during our marriage.
Now, I just want to read something. The two were the it couple of the prison. She had found gold behind prison bars. Her prison lover had good intentions for her, as he even went down on his knees and asked for her hand in marriage while he was still in prison. Take over. We want to know how that happened.
So you want me to start from the engagement?
From the beginning, how you met this man, how you fell in love with him before we even get to the engagement.
All right. So now when I left my husband, I made a decision, my ex-husband, I made a decision to relocate to Pretoria. So I found a job at a company in Centurion. So while I was working at this company, I would answer my colleague's calls whenever she was not at her desk. So on this particular day, a gentleman phones and I pick up, and he introduced himself as my colleague's brother. And, he picked up that I didn't speak the language spoken in Pretoria due to the accent.
Yes.
And therefore he was curious to know who I was, where I was from. And I explained that I was relocating from Vosloorus to Pretoria with my little girl. And he then offered to help find a place to stay because I was looking for a place to rent. He explained that he had been in a business of selling property. So I was excited. I mean, here's this good Samaritan who's helping me, who's offering to help me find a place to stay,
Yeah. Yeah.
So he then said, okay, from now on, I will phone you directly on your line, not through my sister's phone. And I was relieved. Then we started talking on a daily basis. Every single morning he would phone me and he would ask how I was doing, how my daughter was doing. He was just he was into me. He needed to know what was happening in my life. He was very loving, very caring, very, very considerate. And
at this point, did you know that the Good Samaritan was in prison behind bars?
Not at all.
Okay, all right.
Not until 8 weeks later. 8 weeks later, I had to ask because he had become my breath of fresh air. And, he put a smile on my face. So, you would also want to meet a man who puts a smile on your face in Ntando, right?
Of course, I would, yeah.
Yeah, so I asked him, then said, you know what, my brother, we've been speaking for 8 weeks. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you look like. I don't know what you do for a living. I know nothing about you. I'd like to meet you. When are you going to come and visit us at our place of work? He took a very deep breath. Like, I felt the deep breath.
Yeah.
And so he said, I won't be able to come because I'm in prison. Yeah.
I won't be able to come because I'm in prison. And how did you feel in that moment?
Bon, I immediately said, okay, you are in prison then. I'll come and visit you.
Oh.
Yes.
There was no, maybe this is not going to work out. It was just, okay, you're in prison, so I'll come to you.
Yeah, because remember, at this point, I'm not thinking along the lines of getting into a relationship with him. I just wanted to meet this wonderful person that I've been speaking to for 8 weeks. So his location shouldn't change how I view him. Right?
I don't know. It depends if the location is prison or Port Elizabeth.
Yeah, but
those are two very different things.
I like the prison Port Elizabeth.
It depends.
Yes, but now remember, prison is not a crime scene.
No, of course.
Yes, it's a correctional services center which carries a mandate to correct and rehabilitate offenders.
Correct.
So I understood that, even though I had never been into a prison, even though I had never, at the time I didn't know anyone who was incarcerated, but I was open to the idea of paying him a visit.
Look, like we mentioned earlier on, even before the interview started, that, just because someone is in prison does not make them a bad person. And everyone deserves a chance to love and to be in
to
love.
be loved.
Yeah, so regardless of whether they're in prison or Port Elizabeth, however, we have to be realistic. That is something that would scare most people away, most women away, because you think of the worst possible. I mean, is he a murderer? Is he a rapist? Did he steal? What kind of person is he?
Yes.
But still, you were in love with this man and you decided to go ahead with this relationship.
Not yet. I was not in love.
Okay.
At the time.
Were you curious?
I was curious. So I went in there out of curiosity, and they say curiosity killed the cat.
And what did it do to Tshidi?
It killed Tshidi. It almost destroyed Tshidi.
Almost destroyed Tshidi.
Yes, but I had the best 4 years.
Wow.
Of my life.
Wow.
So I went to visit him, and when I arrived, I was very, very anxious, even though I was looking very good. Looking good, wearing my stilettos, my expensive weave. I was on point, as if I was there to meet the president when I was there to meet a man in orange.
Yes.
So after a very long wait in the waiting area, while sitting there, I hear a sound of the gate opening. And when I looked up, I see this tall man, muscular, hunk, with his beard and mustache trimmed in an O shape. I call it Channel O. So he walks towards us, beaming a smile, and, it was obvious that it was him. He looked like he had just walked out of a magazine. And he comes and he greets everyone, with me being the last. He takes a seat on the chair right next to me, right in front of me. And then he grabs my hand. He kisses the hand and he says, "Thank you so much for coming to see me. You look as beautiful as the sound of your voice." And then he looks up to hide the gloss in his eyes. And he says, "I wish I could kiss you on the lips.
Wow.
But I'm respecting my sister." I wanted to say, "Hey, forget about her."
Forget
this man smells good.
About it. Yeah.
He smells good. He looks good. He's a gentleman. Now, Ntando, the hand that he grabbed and kissed is the same hand that was banged against the wall by my ex-husband. It was actually in pain, but he had no idea. So you see, I'm receiving bandages, emotional and physical, from a man who is in prison, for wounds which were caused by a man who has never set foot in prison.
He then gets released from prison.
Yes.
And then what happens?
And now I'm expecting, to see him in action. I'm expecting a continuation of everything that we were doing while he was incarcerated. The romance, the affection, and because he was also studying while he was in prison, also writing a book. So he's a very ambitious man. So
the opposite of your ex.
The complete opposite of my ex. So now I'm looking forward to him coming back for us to build an empire. Because we had so many dreams, and I mean everything that I'm doing now, it's things that we planned to do together. We were going to tell the world about our prison love story. So I was waiting for such. Regrettably, he came back and decided to take a different route, even though he didn't communicate it verbally. He showed me through action. My rich decided to be something else. He came back and succumbed to pressure. Most of his peers, people he knew before he went to prison, were very successful. They were entrepreneurs. Even those who were inferior to him, were now superior, and he felt like he had taken 50 steps back, forgetting that he was incarcerated for over 8 years. So now he's putting so much pressure on himself to catch up. And there's no way. How do you catch up, when you had been incarcerated for 8 years? So now I had now become this woman who presented a second prison to him, because now I'm always telling him to slow down. He doesn't want to slow down. He's used to the fast life. He's not used to a woman going to work and bringing the bacon. He's used to bring in the bacon.
Yes.
He's used to taking care of himself. And he took care of me while he was in prison. Now, all of a sudden, now I have to take care of him. He was not ready for that. And that led to him chasing other women. Yeah, because remember when he was in prison, I was his antidepressant. He was also my antidepressant. But now he comes out. He still needs the antidepressant, but now he knows where to get it now. He's spoiled for choice. He can go to any pharmacy that he wants to get any antidepressant. Now the antidepressant becomes different types of women that he now reaches out to, because now I am now this nagging woman that he doesn't want to spend time with, that he doesn't want around him. So now he decided to go wild.
Do you feel that you were used?
Yes, for companionship. I think he used me for companionship because I was the only constant thing in his life. Very few of his family members were there for him while he was in prison. So I do feel like he used me for companionship.
So you've described the differences between this man and your ex-husband. What were the similarities in terms of how the relationships ended?
The emotional abuse. Yeah, because he ended up abusing me emotionally. He was so verbally abusive. He didn't want me in his presence at all, and I insisted on staying because I felt that, you know what, I've given this man 4 years of my life.
That's a very long time. Waiting for someone.
I even say it in the book. I mentioned it in the book when I asked him if he was sure that he wouldn't change his mind when he comes back from prison. And he promised that he wouldn't. So he was doing the exact same thing that I had fear he would do during his
And you actually asked him and he said he wouldn't do it.
He said he wouldn't do it. And now he is doing it. And I am pregnant with his child in my first trimester when all this is happening.
And then what happens after that?
Then I end up in a psychiatric ward. Ended up in a psychiatric ward when I was 9 months pregnant. After that, one would think that I would have learned my lesson, and one would think that I left him, but I didn't. I went back and forth. One of the reasons, apart from the fact that I loved him, apart from the fact that I believed he could still fulfill the promises that he made, it was shame more than anything else, because prison love is taboo. It's misunderstood by society. When you get into a relationship with a prisoner, you are regarded as being desperate and naive. And then you are judged by family and friends. And they warn you that, you know what, when this man comes out, he's going to show you his true colors. And then he comes out.
And he shows you his true colors.
He shows his true colors. So now I have no one to talk to. Because the same people that I need to talk to are the ones who warned me he would do that. So I stayed in the relationship to prove those people wrong and to prove to myself that I can sustain this relationship. Another reason was that my marriage failed. Now this is a second relationship in a row that is not working out. Both fathers of my children. So it wasn't easy for me to let go, and my self-esteem dropped from 100 to 0 because of the emotional abuse. And then there was also a part of me that wanted to save this man. I thought my love would love the brokenness out of him. I thought my love would melt his heart. But no, it did the opposite, unfortunately.
So your love wasn't enough to change him?
No, it wasn't.
It never is.
It never is.
Yeah.
And he didn't want my love anymore. There's so many women out there who gave him love.
He had options.
He had many options. Yeah, he was a little boy who had walked into a candy store. So I was just that lollipop that he had been having for 4 years. He's used to the flavor. Yes, so there was nothing special about this lollipop.
And do you think another reason why you went back to him even after you were discharged from a psychiatric hospital is that the cycle of abuse does that to you? If abuse is all you know, you tend to gravitate towards it, no matter how much you know that it is wrong, this shouldn't be happening to me, but it's happened for so many years in 2 different relationships that you just thought things were going to be okay one day.
Precisely. And hence I said my self-concept was low. And when you have a low self-concept, it affects your decision making. You're not functioning under the mindset of a person who is whole. You are broken. You know, he had put bandages on my wounds, right? He comes out. They are not healed. They have not turned into scars. I'm still wounded. And then he rips the
bandages off.
Off, right? And now I start bleeding. So I'm expecting him to heal the wounds again, but he was not there. He wasn't. Unfortunately,
And how did you heal from that?
Yo, Sissy. And I actually didn't think I would. It was tough. God literally came and dragged me out of the relationship. And also, I knew that I only had 2 options. 2. Either I fall apart or I rise above it. And falling apart was not an option for me. Falling apart has never been an option. I had a little girl who needed a happy mom. I had an unborn baby who needed his mom. And eventually I gave birth to him. So I had 2 children who needed me to be happy and at peace. So falling apart was not an option for me. I had to rise above it all. But it almost destroyed me. But look, Ntando, I often say, no one hurts us. We hurt ourselves by expecting too much from others. We hurt ourselves by expecting too much from people who cannot be loyal and faithful to themselves. It's expectations. I went into this relationship expecting this man to fill my cup. And then that's not how it should be. A relationship, a healthy relationship, should be about 2 people, right? Who have mastered loving themselves. 2 people who have mastered themselves. 2 people who go into this relationship to bring balance into each other's lives. You go in with your cups overflowing. So now when you go into a relationship, you should only be looking for 2 things. You want your partner, imagine this is an overflowing cup. The partner needs to bring a saucer and a stirrer. And the reason I say stirrer, the emphasis is on the stirrer, not a teaspoon. Because now if he brings a teaspoon, he'll be tempted to remove the tea bag. And when he removes the tea bag, he dims your light, right? So now you need him to bring a stirrer, because now if he brings a teaspoon, he'll be tempted to add sugar and creamer. When all you want is for him to stir. And when he stirs, he loves you, he appreciates you, he celebrates with you. He's allowing you to be the person that you are, because he knows that there is already greatness within you. He doesn't need to act. He just needs to be there and support you and protect you by bringing a saucer to prevent this tea that is flowing from this cup from staining the tablecloth. Because now when it stains the cloth, even your enemies, even those people who didn't believe in the relationship, will be sitting there at their corner celebrating. So now I wanted him to bring that saucer and protect our relationship. I wanted him to bring a stirrer. But unfortunately, the cup was not full, because I expected him to fill that cup. And he couldn't fill the cup. So the lesson here is that we need to fill our own cups.
And you write about that, you say in your book, to attract love, respect, and kindness, I need to give those to myself first.
Absolutely.
I need to be what I am looking for in order to attract it.
100%.
What I want for others, I need to want it for myself first.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you've just described now.
100%. That is how it should be. It is an inside job. You work on yourself. You give yourself the love, the respect. You fill that cup. Everything that you are looking for already exists inside of you. It's an inside job, right? We were born with innate power. We just need to unleash the power. There is no one out there who owes you anything, Ntando. Whatever it is that you want, you owe it to yourself. You're not going to find it in a relationship. It already exists. You just need to unleash it.
How different is life for you now? Are you in a relationship at the moment?
No, I'm single, like a single. I can text them all to hang it so.
Single and available?
No, single and unavailable. Unavailable. Why? I'm in the process of self-discovery. When I go into a relationship this time around, it has to be with a man who is stable, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. So for me to attract this man, I need to be it first. I'm almost there, but not there yet. So it's imperative for me to be there, to be that person first, in order for me to attract.
So you are working on yourself, and the right person will find you at the right time.
The right person will find me. I won't go looking for him.
And I can tell, I did not know you before today. I did not know of you before I read your book, but I can already feel that you're in a much better space right now. You are happy, you are
very
healthy.
Happy. I'm healthy.
And you're in love with yourself.
I'm at peace. I am in love with Tshidi Monkoe, Maria Anna. Those are my other names. Yes. Mama Ntando Shabalala and Ubilele Rona. Yeah, I'm in love with me. I love myself. I'm in love with me. I'm in love with God. I had to work on my relationship with God as well. Because now part of working on the non-physical side of you, it's also working on your relationship with God. Because we often neglect
our spirituality.
We often neglect the non-physical. We focus too much on the physical part of us. So I let go of the physical part of me and worked on my spirit and my soul. Our spirit is what connects us to God, and the soul is what connects us to human beings, other souls. So once you've worked on your relationship with God, which is your spirit, you work on your soul. And then I don't see how you can attract a broken soul when you are no longer broken. We attract who we are. Yeah.
What advice would you give to any man or woman who has fallen in love with an inmate, someone who's in prison, who's behind bars? What do they need to look out for? Were there any red flags or signs now that you look back on your journey and your relationship? Look,
red flags are always there. They are, especially because most prisoners are very controlling. They are controlling. They will tell you where to go, when not to go. You'll feel like you are in a prison while you are in that relationship. But at the time, you'll be enjoying it. Because he will give you all the attention. Yes. It's love. He'll give you all the attention that you need. You won't feel the need to go to a party anyway, because he's there giving you the attention that you need. But now it's not so much the red flags that we should be worried about, but it's the brokenness. Because now this person committed a crime, Ntando, because he is broken, right? Then he gets detained, and his home becomes a prison cell, which he shares with 40 other broken men. Some who are more broken than he is. Their families turn their backs on them because of the circumstances they have found themselves in. That can break a man. Their lovers, wives, baby mothers, drop them like hot potatoes the minute they go into the criminal justice system, right? So now that is enough to break a man. So now he's in this toxic, very toxic environment. and then you fall in love with him out of brokenness as well. So the love is coming from a place of brokenness. And nothing good comes out of brokenness. So it's not even about the red flags. Let's not even talk about the red flags. The issue here is brokenness. There is no way that two people can be in a healthy relationship when they are broken. So when a person is already in that relationship, it would be unfair and unrealistic of me to say they must leave the relationship. Right? Because they are already
in the relationship.
But now they need to be aware that when that man comes out, it's not going to be the bold and the beautiful anymore.